I have a bad fragrance allergy. I am allergic to most perfumes. I have figured out that I am specifically allergic to Stamford incense and an essential oil lavender roller perfume that I bought a while ago. However, other than that, I don't know what else I am allergic to. Normally, it's trial and error to figure out what I am allergic to, which is not great because I don't have any antihistamines for it. When I have an allergic reaction, it gives me an extremely sore throat with bumps at the back. It is so bad that I can't swallow or breathe without pain, and even talking isn't good. My family knows about this allergy because I have had reactions in front of them. My first and worst reaction happened in front of my parents, a 50-year-old man and woman, due to my 18-year-old brother's, now ex-girlfriend's perfume. I figured out it was a fragrance allergy once it cleared up slightly after a few hours away from her outside. I have also had a few reactions in college from inhaling other people's perfumes. My reactions can last hours or days, depending on how exposed I am and how bad it is. A few days ago, my mom bought 2 new Reed air diffusers. I asked her if she would mind not putting them out until I had a chance to test them, and she said that was all right. Then I told her it would take a few days because I had shifts at work and a job interview, so I couldn't test them just yet. She said that was all right and to just let her know when I had tested them. Last night, I thought I could smell something outside my room and downstairs, but I couldn't figure out what it was. My mom had just been in the bathroom, so I assumed it was a new body wash or something, no big deal. But my throat felt off, so I asked in the group chat if anyone had sprayed anything or used any new diffusers or candles, etc. They all replied, "Nope." I said that was all right. I could just smell something and my throat hurt a bit. A few hours later, I went to the bathroom and what did I see? The Reed diffuser. It was opened, 1/4 used, and sitting on top of the toilet. My mom had opened it and then lied to me about it. We also had another one, and I could smell something downstairs as well. I was so upset about this because not only had I been lied to, but this isn't the first time my family has triggered a reaction. My brother's girlfriend, 18 years old, sprayed perfume a while ago, and when I asked him about it, he lied and said he didn't know what I was talking about. Only when she did it again did he admit it, and he repeatedly said they didn't know, despite this being the 3rd time I told him I was allergic. I don't mind her using perfume, I just ask that she opens the window and doesn't spray it in the hallway. My family has also used different scents, and I've had to put in the GC more than once to please take me seriously. I moved the diffuser to the office since it's the only room I don't really go into, and the door stays shut. I washed my hands and quickly got changed. I texted the group chat yet again saying, "Just found the new air freshener put in the bathroom, window completely shut." I'm once again asking if we can please be more sensitive to my fragrance allergy. I have an interview on the 28th, and I'd rather not be struggling to breathe during it. I need the job and my lungs to pay what I am being asked towards bills and for my own food, shampoo, laundry liquid, etc. My brother told me it was an essential oil roller, not perfume. I told him that I was allergic regardless. My parents have also been getting on me about paying bills despite me having one job that barely pays enough or gives me enough shifts. I have been looking for a second job for months and enduring talks from my mom about how disappointed I make her and how I don't make her happy, etc. This feels a lot like I am being sabotaged. I remembered there was a smell from one downstairs too, so I asked, I could also smell something downstairs earlier today. If it's the freshener, I would be happy if someone bothered to move it into a separate room, like the office where I don't go and open windows. The more exposed I am, the worse the reaction is. I've mentioned this before, but it feels like nobody actively listens. I desperately need this job, knowing my family absolutely wouldn't move it. I haven't left my room yet, and I am expecting to see the air freshener back in the bathroom, ready for me to have a reaction. My mom replied this morning around 7 with, "Name, we need to have a face-to-face discussion about this behavior." This is the first time I've stood up for myself. The last time I tried standing up for myself was when she accused me of stealing cutlery from the kitchen and hiding it in my room. Because that's definitely something I'd do. Press. And she screamed in my face more than once, causing me to break down in my room, and my boyfriend had to take care of me. I don't understand what behavior she's talking about. The fact that I'm standing up for myself, That I am sick and tired of not being taken seriously? Every discussion with my mom has always turned into confrontation or an argument. She interrupts me, and I get upset, and she tells me, "I'm not talking to you while you're hysterical." I am so used to discussions ending with me being slapped or screamed at. They're causing me horrible stress. In school, I couldn't even talk to teachers after class about my work because I was so scared they would do the same thing as my mom, because that's all I knew. I have to go downstairs at some point to talk to her. I am autistic, so I struggle to do face-to-face discussions. I am going to try to take it slow and get my point across, even if I get screamed at or interrupted. Any advice to keep my cool or not panic and cry? I haven't eaten yet, and I know she's not going to let me get away from her. TLDR. My mom, a 50-year-old woman, knowingly triggered my allergies after I asked her not to. Now she wants a face-to-face discussion about my behavior, after I asked my family to stop doing this. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your family is harassing you, emotionally and physically. There is no point even attempting to have a discussion with your mom, because she is just setting you up to fail. She doesn't want to resolve the issue. She wants to abuse you some more. You need to get out of that house, permanently, as soon as you can. I know this will be difficult, but you need to make it your goal. If you're a student, check to see what resources your university has. They may have counseling or support services you can access for free. Comment 2. You say that you don't have any antihistamines, why not? It might be a good idea to go to your doctor about your allergies. Even if you can't see a doctor, you can buy antihistamines quite cheaply. Try one per day ones like cetirizine and loratadine. Buy the generic ones because they're much cheaper with no loss of effectiveness. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for an update. So, the talk with my mom, it went as expected. She started off calm, but the moment I mentioned the diffuser, she flipped. Said I was being dramatic and that I should be grateful they let me live there. I tried to explain how serious my allergies are, but she just rolled her eyes. I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe this time she'd listen. But no, she just walked away, muttering about how I always make things difficult. A week later, I had my job interview. I was nervous, not just about the interview, but about having another reaction. I made sure to avoid the bathroom in the downstairs area where the other diffuser was, but guess what? My brother's ex-girlfriend came over, and she was wearing that same perfume. I could smell it from my room. My throat started to close up, and I panicked. I had to cancel the interview. I was furious. I texted my brother telling him what happened, and he just said, "Sorry, forgot." Forgot? How do you forget something like that? I was at my wit's end. I needed to get out of that house. I started looking for any place I could afford. But with my job barely paying, it was tough. I felt trapped. Then, something happened that changed everything. My mom got sick. Not just a cold, but really sick. She couldn't get out of bed, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. They asked about allergies, and suddenly, my mom was paying attention to how serious they can be. She stopped using the diffusers and even apologized to me. I didn't know what to say. I was glad she finally understood, but it took her getting sick for it to happen. I managed to reschedule my job interview, and this time, I made it. I got the job. It's not much, but it's a start. I've been saving every penny, planning my escape. I've been more careful about my allergies, and my family has too, surprisingly. They've seen what happens when they're not taken seriously. But just when I thought things were getting better, my dad lost his job. The tension in the house skyrocketed. My mom was still recovering, and now there was no income. They started pressuring me to pay more bills, to give up my savings. I couldn't do that. I needed to get out. I stood my ground, told them I couldn't give them more money. My dad understood, but my mom took it as a personal attack. We had another discussion, and this time, I didn't back down. I told her I was saving to move out, to take care of myself. She didn't like that, but I didn't care. But I was done being the sick kid they could ignore. It's been a few months now, and things are still tense. But I'm holding on. I've got my job, I'm saving up, and I'm taking care of my health. I've proven to myself that I can stand up for what I need, and I won't let them push me around anymore. Thanks for reading. My partner loses interest in our sex life. After 7 years and fantasizes about other men. So I expose her cheating plans to her entire office and watch her career crumble. We have been together for 7 years and had a very healthy intimacy life before. She gained a lot of weight about 3 years ago and barely wanted to have intimacy. She has slowly worked off the weight and feels incredible about her body now and wanted to have intimacy constantly. She is very athletic and I have struggled to keep up. She wants me to have intimacy with her in missionary or doggy, but my legs sometimes cramp in that position. She has been okay doing cowgirl, but recently told me she is bored with it. She didn't say it, but she basically meant bored with you. A few days ago, I got home from work, masturbated and passed out on the couch, but awoke to a message asking me to come upstairs. She was sprawled out and asked me to frick her and finish in her. I was tired and not aroused, so I declined. She looked hurt and covered up, but said okay, and masturbated instead. I asked her later on what corn she masturbated to out of curiosity. This isn't a new conversation, but our tastes change. She paused and told me to self-intimacy to pictures of other men. Not corn, just pictures, fully clothed. I joked about why that's hot, and she said she likes to imagine them freaking her, kissing, caressing, and talking dirty. Unfortunately, curiosity got the best of me, and I looked through her phone to find photos. They all look nothing like me and are muscular, tan. After the event a few days ago, she hasn't expressed much interest in having intimacy with me. When I ask, she says, well, I don't really want to do the positions we always do. I'd rather not. When I ask her if she wants to experiment, she says no, she needs a break. From me, it seems. She's going away on business in a few days with a bunch of coworkers. One particular guy I met at the Christmas party last year looks a lot like the photos she looks at. She talks about him occasionally, but nothing flirty, just work context. I feel like she's been talking about him more when discussing prep for this work conference, but I don't know if I'm just being paranoid. I've never been the jealous type, and I won't prevent her from going, but I'm just antsy about it. She's definitely been noticing that I'm more concerned about her conference schedule and keeping in contact. I told her about my concerns with our intimacy life and him, and she brushed it off. Said I was being paranoid. How do I express my concerns to her without seeming jealous and paranoid? I watch corn too, so I don't know if I feel hurt at her corn preference right now. How do I become okay with that aspect of her sexuality? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Wow, I'm shocked that she masturbates to pictures of attractive men who don't look like you. Is she not using search terms like pale, flabby 35-year-old husband tired from a long day at work? I'm sure you are self-intimacy to pictures of a 31-year-old woman who recently lost some weight and has stretch marks. Oh wait, corn is almost intrinsically composed of hot people who are unrealistic, unattainable, and different from what we already have in real life. You're looking for red flags where there aren't any. Comment 2. Do you have major medical issues that prevent you, at 35 years old, from having pretty standard intimacy? I mean, you offer her cowgirl, but can't do missionary or doggy. Are you just super out of shape? Or do you have a medical reason? If you can't keep up with her physically, there are men who can. I'm not saying she will cheat. Most people have more depth than the average Reddit story. But if she's undergone major improvement, that definitely changes things for her, especially if you are apathetic and generally insecure. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. Things have taken a turn for the worse. She went on that business trip, and I tried to shake off the feeling that something was off. But the night before she left, she was packing, and I saw her slip something into her suitcase. It was a photo, one of those guys she's been fantasizing about. I didn't confront her, just watched her zip up the bag and act like everything was normal. While she was away, the house was too quiet. I kept thinking about that photo, about the guy from the Christmas party. I couldn't help myself. I logged into her email. I know, a low move, but I found something. Emails between her and that guy, planning to meet up after the conference sessions. Nothing explicit, but you don't talk about catching up over drinks with just any coworker. I felt like a doormat. just lying there while she walked all over me. But I did nothing. I waited for her to come home to see if she'd say anything. She came back, all smiles, talking about the conference, but not a word about him. I asked how it went, and she said it was productive, that she learned a lot. I bet she did. A few days later, she was late coming home from work. Said she was held up with a project. But then I found a receipt in her coat pocket for a bar the same day for 2 drinks. I didn't even have to ask. I knew who the other drink was for. I was seething inside, but I kept it cool on the outside. I asked her if she wanted to talk about anything about us. She just shrugged and said we were fine, that I worried too much. That's when I knew she wasn't just bored with our intimacy life. She was bored with me. I thought about leaving, about confronting her, but I didn't. I just let it slide, like I always do. But then her phone buzzed late one night while she was in the shower. It was a message from him. Can't stop thinking about you. I felt sick. The next day, I told her we needed to talk. I laid it all out, the emails, the receipt, the message. She didn't deny it, just said it was nothing serious, that I was blowing it out of proportion. But how could I? She betrayed our trust, our marriage. I wanted to scream, to throw things, but I didn't. I just sat there feeling like a fool. She said she needed space, that maybe we rushed into things too young. Rushed into things? After 7 years? Now she's staying with a friend. Says she needs time to think. I'm here, picking up the pieces, wondering how I let things get this far. How I became the guy who gets cheated on and does nothing about it. I'm not sure where we go from here. I don't even know if there's a we anymore. But I'm starting to think that maybe, just maybe, I deserve better than this. Thanks for reading. My husband fakes an injury to skip our market event and sneak off with his ex. So I turn his little Easter escape into a permanent vacation without me. Been together for 17 years with 2 kids, 8-year-old female and 8-year-old male. In addition to my 9-to-5 job, I have a small crafting business, and my husband participates in packaging and selling at markets. The weekend after Easter is our first event of the season, so we need to get everything prepared for that, including making products to sell. They are body products, so I have to prep them fairly close to market season because of shelf life. I was counting on having this weekend to do that prep work. We also really need the income because he's on an extended leave from work after an on-the-job injury. 2 weeks ago, my husband brought up the idea of visiting his mom, 3 hours each way, for Easter. I wasn't keen on the idea and reminded him about the time crunch, but said that if we had everything ready beforehand, it might be possible. We have very little done right now because my father, 80-year-old male, moved in with us shortly after that, and getting a room cleared and him situated has taken most of our free time lately. Yesterday, he drove up solo to see his mother because his uncle was visiting. I assumed that would be enough for the holiday visit, but when he came back, he told me about the restaurant they had chosen for Easter dinner. I got pretty upset because we had discussed this ahead of time, and he knew we weren't in a position to travel again. He told me that I hadn't refused, but I reminded him I hadn't accepted. We had just tabled the discussion. Now he's acting like I'm canceling his plans, when I never even agreed to them. His mother lives 200 miles away, and we visit her several times a year. My mother's 80 miles away, and we see her once a year. I don't want to see my mom more. She's a narcissist, so we're low contact. We're going to be near his mom in 3 weeks for a concert, so I suggested we visit her then instead and make a weekend of it. He says it doesn't count because it's different than visiting on a holiday. I don't see the difference because his mom isn't doing anything holiday related. It's just a chain restaurant dinner. At least if we stay local, the kids can do Easter egg hunts rather than spending 6 hours in a car. If you're reading this far, thanks. Would love to hear about other people's takes on the situation. Update. We talked last night and I told him he could either take the kids up while I stayed or all of us could go. And I'd take PTO from my day job during the week to make up the time. He said he didn't really want to go either and felt put on the spot by his mother while he was there. She called today and mentioned she didn't know it was going to be Easter weekend. She just wants to see the kids. So we're bringing them up in a couple weeks and all is good. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate y'all. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I don't think it was right for him to agree to this plan for everyone without considering your wishes. Can he take the kids and you stay back to work? That seems like the most reasonable compromise. I don't think it's fair to compare the time spent with your mother versus his, given the difference in relationship. Comment 2. These comments are wild. It is not that big of an ask to go to dinner with his family on a holiday. It just sounds like you don't want to go and are finding reasons not to. Even when people suggest you stay home and he goes, you are still against that. You are kind of being unreasonable here. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around. Here's what went down recently. So, after we decided to visit my husband's mom in a couple of weeks, things took a turn. My husband's leave from work got extended because his injury wasn't healing as expected. That hit us hard financially, and the stress started to pile up. We needed the market more than ever now. I was working overtime on my crafts, barely sleeping, trying to get everything ready. Then, out of nowhere, my husband's ex from way back before we met showed up. She was in town and wanted to catch up with him. I was uneasy about it, but he insisted it was nothing to worry about. They met up while I was at my day job, and he said it was just old friends talking. But then, things got weird. He started getting texts at all hours, and he'd quickly turn his phone away if I came close. I didn't want to be that person, but suspicion was eating at me. I asked him about it, and he brushed it off, saying it was just his buddies from work, but I knew it wasn't true. The weekend before the market, my husband said he needed to clear his head and took off for a few hours. I was drowning in work, but I let him go. When he came back, he was different, distant. He apologized and helped with the preparations, but I could tell something was off. Market day arrived, and it was a disaster. My husband was supposed to handle the sales while I managed the booth, but he was nowhere to be found. I was juggling everything, and we lost sales because of it. When he finally showed up, he had no explanation, just mumbled apologies. I was furious, but we couldn't afford a scene, so I let it slide. After the market, I found a receipt in his jacket for a fancy restaurant from the day he cleared his head. It was for 2. I confronted him, and after a lot of denials, he admitted he'd met his ex for lunch. He swore it was innocent, but I felt betrayed. How could he do this when we were struggling so much? I needed to focus on my father and the kids, so I pushed my feelings aside. But then my father, bless his heart, accidentally let slip that my husband had confided in him about feeling trapped by our life, our responsibilities. I was heartbroken. Was this why he was reconnecting with his ex? To escape from us? I didn't have time to dwell on it, though. My crafting business was picking up, and I had custom orders to fill. I was working late one night when I got a call from my mother, the one I avoid because of her narcissism. She said she'd heard from my husband's mom that he was planning to move out. I was blindsided. He hadn't said a word to me. The next day I confronted him. He was shocked, said it wasn't true, that his mom must have misunderstood something he said. He promised he was committed to our family. I wanted to believe him, but trust was thin on the ground. Then, the final blow came. My husband's work called. They'd been trying to reach him about his extended leave. Turns out, he'd been cleared to return to work weeks ago, but hadn't told anyone, not even me. He'd been lying, pretending his injury was worse than it was. I was at my wit's end. I didn't know what to believe anymore. My husband, the man I'd spent 17 years with, was a stranger to me now. I felt like I was being manipulated, but I couldn't see the full picture. I had to make a choice about what to do next, but I was so entangled in the mess of lies and half-truths that I didn't know which way was up. In the end, I decided to focus on what I could control. I poured myself into my business and the kids, trying to keep our life stable. My husband was still there, still saying the right things, but I kept my guard up. I couldn't afford to be naive. Thanks for reading. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but I'm hanging in there. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.